Hi everyone, and welcome back to Mind Virgins. I'm your host, Fan, and today we're exploring the fascinating intersection of artificial intelligence and psychology, which is also called as human-AI interaction or HAI. Our guest is Dr. Yoon, a senior researcher at Seoul National University with a PhD in cognitive psychology and an expert in building conversational AI that understands people's minds and emotions. Her research specialty is in large language models, social cognition, and affective science. I invited her to have an exciting conversation about how artificial intelligence can be integrated into our daily lives in psychologically meaningful ways. So, Yoon, thank you for joining us today. Could you start by telling our listeners a bit about yourself?
Hi, Sonu. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here and an honor to be your podcast first guest. Yay. Um, so to briefly introduce myself, I am a cognitive psychologist specializing in empathic artificial intelligence. So specifically understanding and enhancing how AI interacts socially and emotionally with humans. Broadly, my research involves developing large language models or large language models that mimic human intelligence. And I also experiment with various AI systems designed to support people's daily lives and productivity, such as improving how they write messages for peer support, managing health routines like fitness tracking and posture feedback, and refining conversational AI models so that they don't just sound empathic or nice or friendly, but genuinely understand people's nuanced intentions or needs across diverse contexts and needs.
Oh, that's amazing. The
Mhm.
research centers around empathy and social support, and you are exploring how to apply empathy in AI and use AI for social support. Then I can't bring myself to ask you what first sparked your interest in using AI in the field of psychology.
Yeah, my background is actually in cognitive psychology. I studied it as an undergrad. Uh, I guess it was like almost 10 years ago, because I was always curious about how the human mind works. And I also got really interested in language, how people understand or process the sound of how people speak or speech, like etc. And especially computational linguistics, we also call that as a um, our academic term, and how language reflects thought. Then I came across this book called The Future of the Mind by Michio Kaku. I highly recommend this. It's a great book. There was this one idea that really stuck with me, that in the book, it says in the future, robots or AI we call might be able to learn emotions like fear and not to feel them like humans, but to understand them well enough to avoid dangerous actions like not blindly running into a burning building during a rescue mission. Um, so that was like such a striking idea and very fascinating. And later during my master's, I was still in cognitive psychology program when AlphaGo made headlines. Remember that?
Yeah, I
um,
do.
yeah, and that moment actually made AI feel so much more real and more immediate and imminent. And I started learning more about AI and its underlying mechanisms and the history of it. And it really blew my mind that concepts like reinforcement learning actually came from psychology. And it felt like coming full circle, like realizing that the roots of AI were grounded in cognitive science or cognitive psychology. So by the time I started my PhD, I knew that I wanted to explore how we could model emotions like empathy in these AI systems, and not just for like technical innovation, but to actually like support people in real world contexts.
Yeah, for me, when I first encountered reinforcement learning was actually from psychology field. Yeah, I was
Mhm,
really
mhm,
surprised because like I didn't expect that those kinds of like AI things or AI algorithm things actually has to do something with psychology. But yeah.
mhm,
So
mhm.
there was also one of the reasons I got interested in cognitive
Yeah,
psychology. So
yeah.
yeah, it's
Too.
really fascinating. So back to the topic. So
Mhm.
you have been conducting several researches in human AI interaction field, so which is also called as HAI. But let's break it down a bit for those who are new to this topic. What exactly does human AI interaction mean?
Yeah, so human AI interaction, or we call it HAI, or some people call it HI, is basically the study of how people interact with artificial intelligence or any systems that has intelligent, um, algorithm that be able to perform human level problem solving tasks. So it's not just about making AI smarter, but it's also about making it work well with people. So that includes things like how do people talk to AI systems like ChatGPT. And these days, everyone is using it. But back in the days, this was a very, very challenging idea. And how do they feel about the responses or the outputs that these models generate? Do they trust them or do they feel understood? Do they find it useful? So how can we design AI to be more helpful, more supportive, and more aligned with human needs? These are the like center of these questions in the field of HAI. So it's a very interdisciplinary field. It includes like psychology, computer science, design or industrial design, even ethics, all come into play. So my own research focused on how AI can communicate in emotionally intelligent ways, especially in situations where people need support or empathy.
Yeah, so like speaking of interaction you've mentioned before with technology, if the technology remains technology itself, so like, like for example, having a robot appearance, having a stuffed voice with some same tone, like I know what you like this,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
like when they always come up with identical outputs, that actually would not help us for close relationships. So, Yoon, what could be some key factors that shape the interaction to be successful?
Yeah, so we definitely know, like, within a second that the voice sounds robotic and it's the AI system that we are talking to. Um, but one key factor is how much the AI system behaves like a human. So there's a famous theory called the CASA paradigm. It's a short term of computers are social actors. So, which shows that people naturally respond to computers in social ways, especially when they show human-like cues. Like if they sound very polite, and people would respond to them in this reciprocal behavior. Um, so these are some assumptions that we psychologists have towards people that even though how great, how fascinating the AI systems are made, people will continue to kind of attribute the human-like personalities uh, or attributes toward these systems. So, like even subtle things can shape these perceptions. For example, have you ever heard about the Blue Robot by NVIDIA?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Like, can you explain more about it?
Yeah, so it's this very new prototype that NVIDIA recently launched and showcased. It literally looks like the Wall-E robot from that Disney
Oh.
movie, and yeah, it's quite cool. You should check it out. Um, and for example, the NVIDIA recently showed a blue robot prototype. It's not in the market yet. It's only in the prototype stage, I think. But people find its gestures cute because it doesn't really speak or chat with people, but it makes those sounds that in response to how whatever people talk to them. Um, So even though it wasn't like saying much, its movement like felt expressive and intentional. Like when people say hi, it would nod its head, um, look, and it looks like it's saying hi and being really nice to that person. And so that kind of small personality cue can completely change how we relate to a machine. But it's a balance. So if something gets like too human-like, but not quite right, like in the uncanny valley effect, very famous theory that um, people prefer human-like features, but if it looks too human-like, it will actually bring out reactions, thinking that it's too creepy and it can feel unsettling. So it's not about making AI perfectly human, but it's just human enough to feel relatable and trustworthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to like refer to the Netflix drama. It was called
Mhm.
Cassandra. Like I recently watched that drama, and
I
actually the
haven't.
Cassandra, yeah, robot, the outfit it really is really robot with a like TV
Uh-huh.
head. Yeah. But inside the head there is an like avatar that really looks like a human being, and I really felt awkward looking at that.
Uh,
Because I felt like Cassandra is going to like follow me and like stop me at night and then like hit me in the back. Like it was really
yeah,
creepy.
yeah, true. Yeah.
So
It's
like yeah.
it's quite interesting. People have very uh like there's a huge individual differences in how people
Oh.
perceive these human-like features from these android or humanoid robots. For example, like in our lab, where I work at Seoul National University, we have this humanoid robot called Pepper. It's developed by a Japanese company called SoftBank,
Mhm.
and it's huge, and it's a very popular one, and it has these very how do I put this, huge eyes, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of its great feature is to have an eye contact with the user, and whenever it detects that there's someone in front of it, it would like look up because its height is same as a 12-year-old kid. So
Mhm.
usually in a perspective of a grown adult, it feels more like looking down to a child. So it would actually look up to that person. And whenever it looks it up and make an eye contact, some people find it really cute and really relatable, but some people like me would find it very, very creepy. And I actually avoid eye contact with it. So
Oh, really? Like,
yeah, I
I,
do. Can't help it, but I do. Yeah.
oh, because like for me, I do feel like Pepper is a bit cute because it has huge eyes, and whenever it looks up with me and makes eye contact and like
Yeah.
follow my gesture, like I feel like
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cute.
You see? Yeah, you see the difference.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it's relatable that there are some like differences between humans. So, so like as we've mentioned before, like some gestures or like eye gaugings, and like so even like looking up or looking down, the posture of it. Like it's fascinating how all these subtle factors can shape and how we feel about interacting with the AI. So it shows that how complex and human-centered the field is. We have to do a lot of things related to
Mhm,
how
mhm.
human it looks like those kinds of things. So with all that in mind, I now wonder, and I also bet the listeners would, what recent trends or developments in HAI or high field are you most excited about? Are there anything surprising or exciting you've encountered lately?
Yeah, so HAI high is a very huge field and it's very broad. So it's really hard to kind of pin down um, one specific topic that it's um, at this point. But I will just give an example of recent cases and studies and that kind of align with my research interest. So one trend I find especially exciting is how AI is being used in emotionally supportive roles, like in healthcare or counseling. Like studies have shown that people sometimes prefer AI responses, like from the ChatGPT, over those from, let's say, real doctors, because they feel more empathic. And light warning is that I'm not saying doctors are like not empathic. It's just the messages that they receive through this chatbot, and the expressions and the words and specific phrases that these models generate that kind of resonate with these patients. So in my own research, I've seen the same pattern as well. So across different types of support, not just like medical, but also like emotional or, peer support, or people rated AI generated responses as more empathic than human ones. So it really makes us rethink what effective support or effective social support should look like. And we are also seeing AI respond differently based on emotional content. So one study found that when exposed to like violent or traumatic narratives, these models show patterns similar to human anxiety. That's surprising. It suggests that AI isn't just a tool, but part of kind of like dynamic emotional loop that is kind of picked up some patterns and mechanisms, how people, kind of appraise in anxious situations. Um, and interestingly, as AI becomes more like human-like, some even passing the Turing test. This is very recent. I think it's like a week ago.
Oh,
Yeah, it's raising like new questions about how these systems affect us psychologically. So for instance, some studies now show that overuse of AI chatbots might be linked to loneliness and reduced social interactions, because these models like ChatGPT sound very, persuasive and very human-like.
true.
People find it very, I guess, more appealing than to talking to a real human. Um,
True.
so yeah, so I would say a high is no longer just about usability, but due to the very vast and rapid advancement of these generative AIs, it's becoming more about emotional impact.
Yeah, so I really agree to you that we there are some like ethical issues that may be brought up because like some people do feel ChatGPT as a better friend or a better object to talk with rather than human beings.
Mhm,
So, yeah, I agree that so basically AI is not just a tool anymore. Like we can form a relationship with each other, and
mhm,
it's kind of weaving its way into how we live day to day. So, and I also think one of the clearest example of it is social support, as you mentioned before. So there's been so much to talk about how AI can offer emotional support, like counseling, and empathy keeps coming up in this conversation as a key factor in understanding the user's mind and make them feel less lonely or less stressed. So, um, yeah, before moving on to the next step, I first want to clarify what empathy means at this high field, especially from a psychological standpoint, and how it is relevant to HAI field.
mhm. Yeah, so empathy, the word itself is very commonly used in, any every field,
Hmm.
and in our daily lives. But in psychology, we define empathy. We don't view empathy as just like one single emotion.
Mm,
We view it like the history of psychology in various um, scientific findings suggest that it's a multifaceted concept. So it includes a cognitive aspect. We call it cognitive as empathy, which is about understanding what someone else is feeling, thinking. So it's a pure cognitive understanding what's going on.
mm.
And emotional empathy, which is about feeling with someone, and it's sorry, my my
Oh
voice.
yeah, it's totally fine.
Um So it requires sharing the same emotion or emotional reaction to that to the situation or the person that you are interacting with, and even motivational components like you want to help the people, the help you want to help that person, um, and we also call it like pro-social act or pro-social behavior. So, in human AI interaction, this matters because people don't always need the same kind of support. Sometimes they need just a instrumental help, like solving a problem for them. Let's say you would need a recommendation of a good restaurant near a campus. All you need is, just a map link to that, not like uh, a pep talk, right? So,
True.
so other times they just need someone to listen or validate their feelings. They won't need you to, logically assess the situation, and come up with practical solution only. It's just, like a cheer up or encouragement. So an AI gives the wrong kind of response or this type of social support, say a logical fix when someone just wants to vent, it can actually feel really worse. As a psychologist, I think it's crucial to study empathy in this context. It helps us design systems that don't just function, but actually responds to what people need and kind of generate a appropriate type of a support they would need. So, and ultimately, that makes the interaction feel human and helpful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like that's really nice. So like there's a lot to do with empathy because it's not just a single factor, but as you mentioned, it is a multifaceted, yeah, concept.
Mhm.
So like as AI become more integrated into our lives and as humans interact more with AI daily, and more importantly, since we are now trying to use AI in mental health care and social support, I do feel that it is probable that psychologists or social scientists' role is and will be more significant. So, and to be specific, what do you think is the role of psychologists or social scientists in HAI high field?
Yeah, so I'm kind of an early, I'm at the stage of early career. So I wouldn't like confidently say, oh, in the next 10 years or in the next 20 years, it would look like this. But just I think based on just my past experience, I could confidently say that the role of psychologists and also computational social scientists in general is that they won't just study people. They can also help like build better AI or any other supportive systems. Um, and so when we combine social science and humanities knowledge um, with computational skills or quantitative skills, like we all learn from psychology major, right? Um,
True.
yeah, we can actually contribute to building these AI algorithms or the interface or the interaction framework and or its design itself. Um, so, for example, psychologists who understand human emotion and communication patterns can work with AI models or developers to make systems more aligned with how people really think and feel. And those with training in both data and behavior can help design more responsive and context-aware interactions. So, and also, I think it's important to note that we're not just evaluating the, I would say, the already uh, made output or product, AI.
Mm,
We're shaping it how it works or how it should work, and
true.
making it more robust, ethical, and actually make it human centered from the ground up, not in the reverse way. Like here's the product, you should follow how it should be.
That's so helpful to hear that. So, because I'm also a psychology major, and I now want some like advice for a successful psychology. Like, so by conducting such diverse and impactful researches in high field, what advice would you give to future psychology researchers interested in this field?
First of all, thank you for calling me a successful psychologist. It means a lot. And, I still remember being an undergrad and feeling a bit unsure about how psychology could connect to something like AI. But over time, I realized that understanding people is exactly what this field needs, or any other fields, actually. So my advice is, I could say, just based on my past experience, whoever knows what the future would unfold, how the future will unfold. But at this point, I could confidently say that stay curious, and don't be afraid to explore outside the traditional boundaries of psychology or the psychology textbook. I would say. Um, you could learn just enough about data coding or design to collaborate and to ask new kinds of questions. Maybe do some like fun side projects like this podcast. I could
Thank
uh,
you.
yeah, and or build a new startup. Why not? Right. Or maybe join a community and start chatting with people who are also like-minded as you are, but also at the same time share different perspectives. Um, that's actually what I did during my master's and PhD program. I think the be I think the advantage of living in um, a mega city like Seoul is that you can actually interact and network with people from, not just like from academia, but also from like industry, government, or just real like ordinary people uh, who you know you don't really need to like find a good topic from
Mm.
research papers. I mean, research papers are great. Those should be the sources of your great work, but also you could learn a lot from um, learning and communicating with those people as well. How to make, and it really helps you to think how to kind of connect your
Mm.
curiosity and your research interest to real world impact. That.
Mm.
So yeah, so joining a community and uh, networking with those people, it really really helped me a lot. And I'm actually, to this date, I'm doing it. It really has
Oh.
me a lot. And also, let's say from technical perspective, it's just not about building smart systems, I would say, but about building supportive systems. So systems that reduce stress, uh, lighten workload, and most importantly, understand context for of the user. So that means designing with the user's emotional and cognitive state in mind, not just what they say or what they need, which requires in-depth knowledge about psychology, I'd say.
Yeah.
So my conclusion is that we need psychologists. If we can help guide this so that AI doesn't work, but works for people, I would say.
That's so helpful. And yeah, I really agree that like understanding context and understanding how humans feel is really important now and also will be in the future. So psychology majors, yeah, don't be confident. There's a place for us in the future. So
Yep.
yeah. So thanks for the advice, Young. Yeah, those were really great insights. And thank you again for joining us and sharing your knowledge today at this podcast. And I also want to thank you for our listeners. We hope today's conversation gave you a fresh perspective on the powerful role of psychology playing in an increasingly AI-driven world. And before we wrap up, empathy came up a few times today. And in our next episode, we are going to cover empathy in AI in depth. So don't forget to be tuned for more conversations at the intersection of mind, technology, and society. So until then, take care and stay curious.
Yep, stay tuned.
Oh.